Unless God gives you a mountain that he knows that you cannot climb, or an obstacle that he knows that you cannot overcome, or a battle that you're meant to lose, there really is no such thing as losing on semen retention, and you have an unfair advantage when it comes to this practice, if you're doing it for the right reasons, that is. And I want to welcome everybody to another Semen Retention Sunday episode here on the Regal Change account. My name is Thaddeus, and I've been doing semen retention since May of 2022 intentionally. And from what I've seen is really there is no way for you to lose if you're doing it for the right reasons. And I don't exactly know how else to describe it, because this essence that you cultivate and this lack of superfluousness that is emanating from your being just radiates in the universe. And I would like to say more so the existence, because I think existence is a more proper term semantically, because the spiritual domain is real and the world is spiritual, but it's not exactly the way that you think it is. I think that there's many people who, if they saw reality for what it truly is, they would be absolutely in shambles because of their illusions being shattered the way that they are. And these people are usually people that are so lost in the dark that they have no recollection on how to get out of the dark, or that there even is a light. And these people are more often than not just a reminder for those of us who are awake to remember that if we are not to pursue that which is true, just, merciful, and light, that's what's going to happen to us. We're going to look like that. We're going to be like that. And I am so perplexed on how there's so many battles that we have to go through on this journey, day in, day out, day in, day out. There's so many obstacles, and so many people claim that they value themselves, they value the investment of themselves, and yet when things come down to it, when they know something will help them, they're not ready to invest in themselves. And semen retention is one of those things. It's just one of those options. You invest in yourself by keeping yourself. And if we want to look at it from a financial point of view, which I think is very useful, you're almost accumulating interest just by being on semen retention, instead of having to pay interest into the existence. You're accumulating a yield. So that's the way that I think about it. And the reason that I think about it in this way is because I think that it's useful, because I've been studying Bitcoin so much recently, and I've been studying fiat, and I've been studying all these cryptos and all that, and I've been studying finance in general in a way that has allowed me to relax. I never got to the point in which I was able to be so calm about money before studying Bitcoin and before learning about what Bitcoin really is. You see, I don't see Bitcoin as a invention or a technology. I think that it took the technology and it took inventing certain things for us to discover this cyberspace, digital gold type of a thing. Now, a lot of people will disagree with that, and that's fine. I just think that if you study Bitcoin more and you realize that it's actually just a mathematical equation, it is what it is. Now, what does this have to do with semen retention? Well, really everything, okay? Semen retention is reclaiming your time. Bitcoin is also about reclaiming your time. In the fiat system, which anybody that doesn't know what fiat is what happens when you have a government-created currency that is not backed by anything like gold or anything like that. I do believe that it's possible in the future that there's going to be a Bitcoin standard rather than a gold standard. because in the United States, we went off the gold standard in the early 70s. And I think that there's a possibility for this in the future, to where we're going to see the Bitcoin standard become the norm rather than the gold standard. And the reason being is because there is a finite number of Bitcoin. There is something that is finite, and everybody has the opportunity to opt into it now. But are they choosing to do so? Nah, because it's not tangible or whatever. And it's like, well, semen retention isn't tangible either. You can't really touch the essence. You can't really touch the feelings that you have, the clarity. You can't touch that. And there is a sense of climbing a mountain that nobody else can climb. And you get this vision at the very top, the sense of clarity. Nobody can describe this to you, right? You have to experience it for yourself. And I think in many ways, this is what it's like to study finance from a particular point of view that frees you, that frees your mind. You know, and that's something that I think many people in general are just not capable of. And everybody knows that the fiat system, money is, you know, there are people that are so invested into money that they become hyper materialistic. And then there are people that don't pay enough attention to money and they have a poor mindset when it comes to money. Money is oftentimes not about your relationship to money is what matters. Your mindset with money is what matters. It's the same type of thing with semen retention. And remember, semen retention is a supplement to getting closer to God. It is not the antidote, okay? It's a supplement. It's like protein shakes or, you know, vitamins or whatever, but for your soul. And semen retention is not to be put on the pedestal that so many people do. It's the same type of thing when it comes to finance. People put fiat on a pedestal without even realizing it. And I'm not saying to put Bitcoin on a pedestal either. But again, it's a pathway. It's a supplement to your relationship to Christ. It's a supplement to your relationship with Him. It's not something that's going to give you all of the answers. And even though it will help you, and it will free your mind, it will desexualize your mind, and there will be miracles that happen, because it's almost like you cannot lose, right? You just simply cannot lose when it comes to being on semen retention, because again, you're accumulating that yield from the existence. You're accumulating the yield return just by keeping yourself, having yourself. I mean, I'm sure you guys have noticed that many people in this world, especially the materialists, they have pretty much anything and everything that they would ever and could ever want. But what do they not have? What do they not have? Well, a lot of them don't have themselves. A lot of them don't have the ability to even be with themselves. There are so many people in this world that cannot live in silence. You know, they can't live. They can't even meditate for 10 minutes or so. They just can't do it because they need stimulus. They need stimuli. They need something to happen. They can't sit still with themselves. And there's usually something that happens in the person's mind when they can't do this. And what that is that it's usually some sort of either anxiety that they don't know about. And I don't really believe in anxiety and depression, especially since doing semen retention. And the reason for that is because semen retention allows you to see through your own BS. And a lot of the times, your own anxiety, your own depression, these are thought algorithms, as I call them, that are a part of this BS. Like, it's just lies that you tell yourself, the story that you tell yourself, so that you can make yourself be pitiful inside your mind, because it's easy to make yourself to be the victim rather than the person that overcomes. And sometimes, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, when God does give you a obstacle that He knows you can't overcome, or you're meant to lose a battle, you know, maybe it's your time to lose, right? Maybe it's your time to not overcome these things. But you just want to be relentless, like, no, I'm going to do whatever it takes. like, okay, well, maybe you might lose yourself if you have to do whatever it takes. And are you willing to do that? Are you willing to lose your relationship to God for the sake of whatever, whatever it is that you want? Because that's going to be a deep question that you're going to have to answer to and for in some way, shape, and form. And you got to be careful with that, because if you're willing to sacrifice yourself for the sake of materialistic gains, then you're not actually following Christ. You're just not. And that's the unfortunate reality. Now, there is something to be said that you have to kill off parts of yourself in order to develop your relationship to God. But if you're not going to be capable of knowing how to discern what's worth sacrificing in yourself, maybe it's the part of you that you least want to sacrifice that needs to be sacrificed the most. Maybe it's that inner bitch inside of you that is telling you that, oh, I can't do it, you can't do this, you can't do that. And it's filling you with doubt, and it's filling you with just this, like, oh, life is just too hard, I just can't do it. I can't. Do you wonder how often you tell yourself that? And you just tell yourself that enough times to believe in it. And look, the society that we live in has degraded men to such a terrible degree that men themselves have no meaning in their life. They find no meaning, or little meaning. The thing is that when you follow Christ, you have really one of two options. And when you see that Christ is the answer, that's the one of two options that you see. You see one path being the path away from Christ, and you're choosing rebellion to Christ, is where nothing matters. Okay, then you have the option of following Christ, where now everything matters. Everything you do has the potential to reshape the existence. Holy crap, So either way, when you realize that Christ is the way, the truth, and the life, when you realize that and you have the option to rebel or the option to, okay, I'm gonna choose Christ. Choosing Christ is literally the hardest decision that you can make, because it requires you to sacrifice things and to do things that you're going to have to maybe kill parts of yourself off with. And in the Bible, it says to do justice is more acceptable than sacrifice to the Lord. Okay, a lot of people don't want to do justice. A lot of people would rather sacrifice certain parts of themselves than to do the right thing. And you know what? You know why that is? Because it's hard to do the right thing sometimes. Because in order to do the right thing, you might have to get yourself killed to some degree. And that's tough. That's tough. And I'm not saying to make a martyr out of yourself, but what I'm saying is that that's going to be a prerequisite of following Christ sometimes, is that the more that you choose to follow him, the more that your life is going to start to look like his. But the thing is like, okay, are you doing these things in accordance to developing your relationship to Christ? Are you actually committed to the process? Are you committed to valuing your time? Are you committed to valuing your commitment? Are you committed to loyalty in general? Are you committed to justice? Are you committed to sacrificing things? A lot of people say, oh, I'm committed. Oh, I'm this. Yes. Well, then why aren't you changing? Why aren't you doing what you need to do? You know what you need to do. This is what gets me with one-on-one mentorship calls sometimes, is a lot of people know what they need to do. They just want somebody to hold them accountable for it. And that's okay. I understand that. It's just interesting that that's the reason. That's what they need to do. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that that's what it is. And so I see that a lot of the times people want accountability, but they want it from other people. They can't do it by themselves. And I wonder, well, why is that? Because for me, when I make a choice where I know I need to be holding myself accountable, like with semen retention, I relapsed one time after learning about what semen retention was in April of 2022, and then into May of 2022. I relapsed the one time after 3 weeks intentionally because I wanted to see, okay, well, what would be the side effects? Because I would go like 1 week since October of 2021. I would go like 1 week without, jerking off and playing with myself. And then I kind of just naturally let go of it. I didn't know about semen retention or anything like that up until March and April of 2022. And I was like, I guess there's an actual practice for this. Okay. And so I had never really gone like more than 2 weeks. And I went 3 weeks. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to intentionally play with myself to see what happens. And literally for like 2 days, oh my gosh, I felt so terrible. I felt so bad. It was just disgusting. It was terrible. And I don't think I ever, because at that point I was following Christ, and I was like, well, like I was making the decision to follow Christ in January of 2020. No. It was December of 2021. Was it 2021 or 2022? No. It was 2022 was January when I started to choose to follow Christ. Yeah. So it was January 2022. I started to learn more about Jesus, and I was reading the Bible for like 6 months up until following Jesus. I remember there was like certain things that happened in Christmas of 2021 that really just impacted my relationship to God. And I started to see that Jesus actually was a logical decision to choose to follow him. And it freaked me the fuck out, man. It freaked me out because I was like, oh my gosh, I looked everywhere but him. I looked everywhere but him. And now I know why. And I was feeling the pressure of that. I felt the existential angst because it was just like an avalanche, that just hit me. It was like a spiritual avalanche of truth that just slapped me in the face so hard that I couldn't handle it because I could see that the truth was right there. The whole time the truth was there. And it was as if I never didn't know that Jesus was the way, the truth, and the life. I just wanted to reject it because it was so difficult for me to understand. And yet it was so difficult to understand because it was so simple. And it really wasn't that difficult to understand. It was just so simple that we thought it was more like we're taught in our society that things are really more complicated or complex than they need to be. I think that's one of the reasons why people don't understand Bitcoin. It's because it's so simple. It's literally so simple. And yet people want to make it so complicated because we're used to the fiat system. We're used to the lies. We're used to all these things that are just trying to destroy and reconfigure our minds to where when something simple and truthful comes along, people are like, nah, I don't trust it. It's too simple for me, man. It's too simple. It's like, no, it is that simple. And it really isn't that complicated. But we make it so because we think that things need to be more complex than they really are. We think that things need to happen a certain way. We think that if we're not in that complex mode, if we're not in fight or flight, things aren't good. But that's our parasympathetic nervous system versus our sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is responsible for your fight or flight. The parasympathetic nervous system is responsible for your calmness and digestion. Ever since I started to get more into my meditation, into prayer, actually praying with people, this is something that I've found to be very interesting when it comes to praying with other people. Like especially in the Regal Change Academy, we'll usually do like either a closing prayer and opening prayer in certain calls, and sometimes it's really interesting to just feel the connection with other people because it is by definition the most intimately spiritual thing you can do apart from sex. It's literally that with anybody because you're sharing the space with him. You're sharing the space with him, and I think that there's this really deep connection that you develop with other people. And a lot of people will think, like I've had people multiple people talk to me recently about how they don't know if they're praying the right way. And it's like, well, Jesus does map out how to pray to God, for example, in the Bible, but I really don't think there's a right way to pray. There's not really a right way to follow Christ, apart from the laws, statutes, and commandments that he's given in the Bible, of course. And I don't really see another way. I don't really see a right way. The right way is to just be with him. The right way is to just aim to be in a relationship with him. How you develop your relationship to him is going to be between you and him. And that's what's so cool about following Christ, is it's a personal relationship. It's a personal relationship in which you can actually develop yourself. And that's why semen retention is this supplement to that, because again, you're getting that yield. You're getting that yield from the existence because you're valuing yourself. And the more you value yourself, the more existence is going to see that there's value to you. Because God already knows there's value to you. He's called you. Okay? We may be tempted by women, but God recruited us. Isn't that amazing? Like, and women, any women that may be watching this, you may be tempted by men, but God recruited you. Hello. This is amazing. You're amazing. You were created by God. And yet sometimes people just, they don't want to see that. They don't want to be awe-inspired by the creation. But more so, they don't want to be inspired by God himself. They don't want to be inspired by the Creator. And this is why people are either in the simulation, as I call it, or they're in the simulator. People that are in the simulation are part of the matrix. People that are with the simulator are one with the Creator. Because God made us to be in the image of him. And the only way that we can really do that sometimes is to abstain from the world. And one of the ways that we do that is through semen retention. It's just the way that it is. So I hope that with all this being said, this was a useful and insightful video for you. We went a little deeper than I thought we would, but I suppose that that's kind of the point of these videos sometimes, is I want to be able to give people like a doorway that they can walk through if they choose to. And that's really what I aim to do in my Godlike Mastery Initiation program. That's what I aim to do in my one-on-ones. And that's what I aim to do with the Regal Change Academy as well. The Regal Change Academy is being rebranded now. Not necessarily rebranded, I suppose, but we're doing like a revamp of the academy. So it's going to be a church/university replacement option. So we're going to be teaching people about things and subjects that they ought to have learned in the public school systems or in college that they're not getting. And now they're going to be able to learn about these things, and they're going to be able to implement that in their own life to get that full transformation. And the church replacement option, again, it's just an option. I'm not trying to replace the church. I'm not trying to replace the universities. What I'm just saying is that I'm trying to be a network. Okay, I want to be a network. I want to have a network of individuals where it's a peer-to-peer individual system that is separate from everything else, that it's its own sovereign academy, and it's its own sovereign replacement option for church and universities. And it is free to get into the academy, but there is going to be a paywall if you want to join the group calls or the classes themselves. But you can be on the community board and see what people talk about and engage there if you want to, for the free standard option. But for the premium option, yeah, there's going to be a paywall. And we do that because I want to know that the people that are joining in those group calls and such, they want to be there. You know, this is going to be an elite academy, and we're making it into that. So I don't want to see people that are just willy-nilly, whatever, doing crap stuff. This is a serious place. I would say more sincere place. It's not a serious place. It's more of a sincere place. I don't think we need to take too many things in this life seriously, especially ourselves. And I think it's better to take things sincerely. take it sincerely, but not too seriously. So with all that being said, peace be with you. Until next time.